There's a beautiful parallelism in the readings for Mass today. First reading is from Genesis, and it's how Joseph's brothers sell him into slavery because they're so jealous of him. Some of them even want him dead. And you're familiar with the story. He goes down to Egypt as a slave, ends up helping the Pharaoh, interprets the Pharaoh's dreams, saves the people from famine, and one day his brothers show up looking for food. And so that this act of betrayal, this destructive hatred, God turns into grace for the salvation of thousands of people in a moment of famine. That's put side by side with the parable of the landowner and the tenants in the Gospel of Matthew, where the tenants seize the servants and kill them, and then ultimately kill the son as well. And of course, Jesus here is foreshadowing his own rejection by the leaders of his people and his own crucifixion. And of course, there again, we see in absolute clarity that God takes the worst possible thing that could happen, the death of his son on the cross, the rejection of Jesus by the people that he came only to heal, bless, and save. He takes that crucifixion, that worst day in human history, that Good Friday, and transforms it into the best of all possible outcomes, our salvation. So God is constantly doing that in our lives, taking what seems to be bad, even taking our sin, and if we allow our hearts to find repentance, he can take our sin and make us strong in our weakest places. He can allow us to be instruments of healing for others when we ourselves have found healing. He writes straight with crooked lines, as the saying goes. But when something bad is happening to us, when we're tempted to label something as terrible and as tragic, objectively that may be true. But do not ever doubt God's inordinate, perfect, infinite power to take what is destructive and tragic and difficult and even what looks like death in our lives and to transform it into something life-giving and beautiful. We've all seen that in our lives over and over again. Something that seemed really bad at the time ended up having blessings and good consequences coming from it. We see it in Joseph. We see it ultimately and most powerfully in Jesus' death and resurrection.